There's a reason the PlayStation 2 laid the foundation for Sony's domination in the console market, effectively killing off Sega as a hardware manufacturer and siphoning sales from Nintendo's GameCube, and that's its incredibly diverse library of essential games. Put simply, the amount of quality titles on Sony's second home console is simply staggering. Compiling a list of just 15 of the best PS2 games is nigh on impossible, but it's fair to say that those games that have made the cut are up there as some of the best video games ever made. Shadow of the Colossus. Few games elicit a forlorn sense of isolation as strong as Shadow of the Colossus. Playing as a puzzler come boss battler, the real beauty in Shadow of the Colossus are those moments of silence riding between colossi, an opportunity to contemplate the motives behind our heroes' actions before slaying the next ginormous beast against a backdrop of muted, misty landscape. Awestruck is often the sensation in defeating the colossi, but with its memorable ending and epic soundtrack, Shadow of the Colossus holds up just as well today as a lesson in minimal storytelling as its PS4 remake. Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty. Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty initially suffered a patchy relationship with players upon launch, owing to Hideo Kojima's bait and switch, with young rookie Raiden emerging as the main playable character instead of Solid Snake. Thematically though, MGS2's misleading marketing played into elements of its story perfectly, with the game's examination of fake news, artificial intelligence, and political conspiracy more culturally relevant today than back in 2001. Mechanically, Sons of Liberty was ahead of the curve too, its tactical espionage action delivering a sense of realism not yet seen in video games. Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. If there's a downside to Sons of Liberty, it's the befuddling, multifaceted plotline which understandably alienated a lot of fans. Fans who'd rather spend hours as a lone wolf infiltrating heavily guarded locales. Well, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater delivered on this desire, with an overwhelmingly complex story replaced in favor of immersive stealth gameplay. Snake Eater provided a host of innovative ideas, such as the use of camouflage, hunger mechanics, and the ability to heal specific body parts too, plus a wealth of genius boss fights. Metal Gear Solid 3 is regarded as many as the best in the series, and for good reason. Silent Hill 2. A masterclass in environmental storytelling and creeping dread, Silent Hill 2's eponymous fog-strewn town plays host to protagonist James Sunderland's inner demons as he searches for his missing, presumed dead, wife. This game gets under your skin. Contorted mannequins, wounded, vaguely human figures, and the iconic fear-inducing Pyramid Head are just some of the vile manifestations of Sunderland's inner psyche encountered, and they've kept a stranglehold on players' shredded nerves ever since. Eco. A video game centered on the escort mission doesn't sound the most enthralling, but Eco's surprisingly competent companion meant the experience was genuinely moving, when, on paper, it should have been riddled with frustration. In short, Eco was a triumph. Its puzzles were clever, its environment stunning, but it's the blossoming relationship between our boy with horns and the castle princess Yorda, a story told with minimal dialogue too, that rightly propels Eco to cult classic status, and a game often cited in discussions on the credibility of video games as art. Grand Theft Auto Vice City. Coming a year after GTA 3 revolutionized 3D open-world action, Grand Theft Auto Vice City took the formula and ran with it, refining everything which made its predecessor so revered. Vice City's pastiche of 80s pop culture, alongside a monumental radio soundtrack, forged a version of Miami which felt truly lived in, providing the perfect backdrop for Rockstar to tell an exceptional story, stuffed with memorable missions and engaging characters, voiced by Hollywood greats such as Ray Liotta and Burt Reynolds. When considering the best Grand Theft Auto game, Vice City absolutely deserves to be in the running. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. It proved impossible to choose between Vice City or the follow-up Grand Theft Auto San Andreas for this rundown. So whilst they both appear, it's arguably San Andreas that edges it thanks to a sprawling odyssey through California and Nevada, encompassing 3 vibrant cities based on LA, San Francisco, and Las Vegas. The game's protagonist CJ survives epic car chases, intense heists, and many a gang shootout on his dangerous quest for vengeance across San Andreas' criminal underworld. Neat RPG innovations such as hunger and workout mechanics also feature, with CJ's abilities adjusting accordingly, meaning GTA San Andreas is rightly cited as one of the best games ever made. SSX Tricky. A dying breed is the arcade-style extreme sports sim. Perhaps not as influential as Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, the SSX series still contributed to extreme sports spilling into the cultural zeitgeist in the late 1990s and early 2000s. Snowboarding is cool, and SSX Tricky knows it. Tricky, in fact, is the sequel to PS2 launch title SSX, but it's less a direct follow-up and more a remixed iteration, taking the underwhelming aspects of its predecessor and ramping it up to something more outlandish, with its addictive adrenaline bar unleashing supremely unrealistic Uber tricks, a stellar highlight in a game full of outrageous high points. Onimusha Warlords. Onimusha Warlords was a great game back when it first launched on the PS2. Onimusha Warlords isn't the toughest game in the series, but there's still plenty of challenge to be had. Much of the difficulty actually comes from mastering critical attacks, which can quickly dispatch foes, and solving certain puzzles, including the infamous water puzzle. Collecting the souls of enemies you down in Onimusha is also a fundamental part of the gameplay loop. This doesn't happen automatically, nor does it happen by simply being in close proximity to the souls. No, you have to physically hold down a button to get all the souls to come to you. Gran Turismo 3 A-Spec. Gran Turismo games are famous for their scope and overwhelming choice of vehicles, so in some ways, GT3 A-Spec is an outlier for the series. Gran Turismo's first release on PlayStation 2 featured drastically fewer cars, 181 as opposed to GT2's 650, but in its place was a hyper-focus on car detail atop of beautifully realized immersive tracks and uncompromisingly smooth racing. The follow-up GT4 re-established the smorgasbord of cars and tracks, but Gran Turismo 3 A-Spec gets the nod for this feature due to its refined, near-perfect racing finesse over its successor. Burnout 3 Takedown. The antithesis to Gran Turismo, the Burnout series said to hell with realism. How about we crash tons of exotic cars at breakneck speed instead? Nowhere was the joy of exploding vehicles more extreme than in Burnout 3 Takedown, a high-speed racer centered on taking out opponents in the most outrageous, unrelentless ways possible. With the briefest slow-mo of twisted metal following every meaty collision, Takedown's sense of freewheeling fun and satisfaction never dimmed, even after hours of eye-gouging racing. Jak 2. Despite its arguably unfair checkpointing system and increased difficulty, Naughty Dog's follow-up to Jak and Daxter, the Precursor Legacy, is heralded as the best in the trilogy. Jak 2 introduced an expanded palette of combat options, centering on the multifaceted new firearm, the Morph Gun, with particular emphasis on chaining melee attacks to weapon fire, increasing the gun's effectiveness, making for super satisfying encounters. Together with excellent traversal through diverse, wonderful worlds, Jak 2 stands tall as a pinnacle of 3D platforming. Psychonauts. It's surprising that Psychonauts was considered a commercial failure at the time of release, barely shifting 400,000 units, resulting in severe financial loss for its publisher Majesco Entertainment. It's only since Psychonauts' republishing on digital storefronts has its notoriety grown, leading to a well-received sequel in 2021. The 2005 original is no less groundbreaking than its sequel though, with superbly imaginative worlds providing the visual splendor for our psychic-powered secret agent in training to explore, all supported by a wonderful story told with a cast of bizarre, endearing characters. Virtua Fighter 4. Tekken is a fighting series synonymous with the PlayStation, and whilst the PS2's Tekken offerings, Tekken Tag Tournament and Tekkens 4 and 5 were stellar, it's Virtua Fighter 4 which led the way for fighting games on Sony's second home console. Virtua Fighter 4 and updated follow-up Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution greatly expand upon its signature gameplay features, like its addictive evasion system, whilst remaining approachable to newcomers. A host of memorable fighters, some of whom come equipped with movesets or combat stances switchable on the fly, round out this brilliant entry in the iconic fighting series. Sly 2: Band of Thieves. Stuffed with laughs, charm, and genuinely thrilling stealth mechanics, the Sly Cooper series is one of the most unique first-party offerings on the PlayStation 2. Sly 2: Band of Thieves improved on almost every facet of its predecessor, with a broader arsenal of gameplay mechanics and playstyles provided by 3 controllable characters, together with an exceptional script and memorable story. Sly 2 is the best in a trilogy chock full of highlights. So what are your thoughts on this? Go ahead and share them in the comments below. And if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel and enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon to get new video updates. We upload every day and would really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching.